Alright, so now we're on the next part of our video and we're going to create the environment and the little assets for the robot to sit in. As last time we hit our robot, but just as if you're catching up this or you're jumping into this one, we've already created the model in part 1 and part 2. So we created the model in part 1, part 2 we put the materials on, and part 3 will focus more on the props and environment around it. So I just turned it off and we're going to start building. I'm going to click here on the collection, so everything that we add here will go into this collection. So let's start with a cylinder. Let's start with building a little table lamp. Right? It's going to be on a desk, so we want the robot to wake up on a desk, like a workbench almost. Similar to one of the videos I done earlier with the what do you call it? With the robot arm. So this is an updated version of that, and I'll do similar props too. So they're not too complicated. I'll use a cylinder. I'm going to grab this edge loop. Feel free to skip this video if you're not interested in the whole environment, creating the little props and assets. If you do, yeah, feel free to follow along or create your own props. There's no, you can tell your own story. I'm going to create a little lamp here. So it's very basic. This will be the base of the lamp, and I'll grab another cylinder. And this here, we just rotate this. And I'll just scale this down, S, move this up, like so. Now I kind of want a little, like, I want it halfway in, so we don't want it all the way. We can kind of push this down. It doesn't matter too much the bottom face of that. So we can kind of just select half of this, and then if we scale this and hit 0, boom, and you can kind of scale this out a tiny bit. I'm just hitting S to scale this out. Maybe a little bit in. Yeah. I'll just push this up. And I'll scale this down. There we go. If I look at it from above, smaller, there we go. Alright, so I want to shade auto smooth, shade auto smooth. I want a little bevel on this too. I'm going to select this edge loop and this edge loop. I'm going to go here, tab, apply the scale on the transformation, then I'll go back to edit mode. Then I'll do the bevel edges and just reduce the number. I think 3 is okay. And I can adjust the shading, the angle on the smooth here. Let me go modifier smooth. I just adjust that angle. Something like that. That looks pretty good. Alright. We can also shift this up a tiny bit. There we go. Next, we just want one more cylinder just to go straight through the pin, like a pin. Like I said, these props, they're just going to be basic shapes, nothing complicated. It's just to help, to help tell the story. The environment also helps tell the story. It's part of the whole animation and as well. So the character is one thing, and then the environment's another thing. It all comes together. I'm going to X-ray, and I'll just grab this face and just pull it out. There we go. Shade auto smooth. I don't mind if this face is a little bit sharp. I just shift this like this. Yeah, looks pretty good. Okay, so we want two kind of cubes that kind of, so the idea is, you know, that it's just like, I'm gonna do like, if I annotate this, so you can, if you want, you can jump ahead, but it'll be like, you got two kind of cubes that we're gonna stretch, and then I forgot the, there we go, annotation. Then you have like this, another cylinder, like two cylinders here, and then it kind of joins off here, and then you got the lamp. Right, this would be a little desk lamp. Anyway, this is the idea of what we're going to create. Oh, can I erase that? I'm going to mesh cube. Oh. I'm just scaling this and moving it into place. And what I can actually do, if I place it here on this side of, and I use a mirror, and we say, well, it's on the y-axis, of course. Oh, now we have both, so we just do one, and the other one's kind of following. Makes our life a lot easier. Oh, but remember that, oh, it won't go on the y, it won't follow. So maybe we'll just shift it up. So let's just pull this up. Let's apply. So we come out of edit mode. Let's apply our modifier. Now with those two faces, now we can kind of shift this a little. And I'll probably squish this in a tiny bit. Just to tighten it and rotate it. I think that's alright. Then what I'll do is reuse this cylinder. So we're going to this side view here. Just going to grab this, just drag it up. So Shift D to duplicate, kind of fill this in. And of course, we don't need it this thick. This could be thicker, to be honest, not this. There we go. And maybe we can center this more. There we go. And we could also perhaps just Control A, apply the scale, add a bevel on this. There we go. And shade auto smooth. That looks a lot nicer. Again, I'll just kind of try to center this object, center pivot. And I'll scale this in. Click on the there, and then I can use the gizmo, all of them selected, so I don't have to keep on switching on the tools. I think that looks like a decent size, right? And what I'm going to do is Shift D, S, scale this in, and then pull this out. There we go. Now what I can do is duplicate this again, Shift D, move this up. I'll place this where I need it to go, inside the kind of hinge, this hinge. It's not perfect, so I'll just move it in a bit more, push it up. There we go. We'll select these two faces at the top, and like I said in the drawing, we'll just kind of angle this towards the where the lamp would be pointing. Now, so I want to rotate this, so I'm going to get the rotation here and rotate this a little. Now this one's a little bit, look at it, you've got this kind of gap where it's kind of growing apart. I'm going to kind of pull this together a bit, and then here I'm going to go to X-ray mode. I'm going to slightly rotate these as well, just to kind of help this. There we go. So it's not too distorted. There we go. Of course, you could just get a cube and rotate it, but it doesn't matter. We're fine. So let's build the lamp. We're going to use a sphere, so we're going to UV sphere, and we're going to chop this in half. Tab, select half of this, use the marquee tool there, delete faces. Now we have half. I'm going to select these top faces, right? And I'm going to grow the selection to about here. Maybe a little bit more. No, actually, I think here's okay. And what I'm going to do is extrude along normals. Oh, and scale this in. Pull this down a little bit. Now you can choose to extrude this again from the center. So if we look at it from above, we can choose this center ring here. We can extrude again. Kind of scale this back. We have a shade auto smooth. Now we can apply some modifiers to this just to generate solidify. So we can add some thickness, as you can see. With the X-ray on, you can see how thick this is. And then what we're going to do is add a bevel. So we can round these edges off. And let's just add a subdivision surface just to smoothen everything out again. Let's turn this off. And you can kind of play around with this bevel and the angles. See what works. I'll leave this at 30. So 30 seems okay. Play with the thickness. You can see it has a completely different look and feel. So it depends on what kind of look you want. Do you want are you going for some realism, or are you going for, like, kind of over exaggerated? I'll go for over exaggerated. Now, if you don't want this to be so tight, you can add the edge loop here. So if you want to be this bit more tight up here, you can do that, but then it's affecting the whole. But yeah. Oh, actually, we can just select. It'll probably still affect that loop. Let's see. Put that in. I think that looks alright. I'm happy with that. Like I said, we're not going to spend ages on this. Let's move this into place. And we have our lamp. Now, to put a bulb in there, of course you can model a bulb. However, we're not going to be examining the bulb, so I'm just going to stick a sphere in there. So I'm going to add mesh UV sphere, and I'll just place this bulb in there. There we go. We have, if you want it a little bit sticking out, you can do that. You can also shape that smooth. And then we can start naming these parts if you want. So we could go here and we can go bulb, lampshade, and so on. What we can actually do as well, I'm going to select these two together, and I'll join. So that's one piece. I'll select these hinges, and we make this. Actually, let's make this, and this one piece. So there will be. Then we assign one material to that, and then these inner hinge, these little pins, they can have their own material, and then the base, of course, and this can be the same material as well. Boom. I think that'll be better. And then look, we have fewer objects to manage, and then we can just stick this in a collection, right? Of course, if you want to rig this and animate this, feel free. This is going to be, it's a static object. Oh, you may have noticed that I didn't apply my modifier, so I'm going to just undo. Undo. There we go. So undo. I went back to where I forgot to apply the modifier. Boom. So these two can join up. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. There we go. I don't know what to call this. Arm, lamp arm. lamp pins, lamp hinges, lamp hinges. What is this cylinder? Oh, this is just, should call it lamp. That's the lamp and the base, but there we go. And then what I can do is grab all of this, boom, move to collection, new collection, and we can call this lamp. Now while we're here, we might as well put the materials that we want on here, and then so we don't have to go back and forth. Let's just create some materials. So go for metallic, and a new material. I'm gonna go for like a kind of goldish, copperish color, something like this. If I make it metallic, bring that roughness down a bit, not too much. I want to show it's metallic, but I don't want to pick up crazy reflections, and I might make this a little bit darker and desaturate it. There we go, kind of like a copper material to it. The light, very simple, new, call this bulb. You can name this if you want, copper or whatever you want to call your materials. And this will be an emissive emission, so just increase the emission on that, nothing too crazy. Then I can apply the copper to this as well, so I'm going to go here, select this arm, copper, boom, and then this and this, these pins, and this, maybe I have a separate material, so let's go for like, let's go for the kind of same copper but darker, a little bit darker. There we go. And we can play with metallic and roughness. I'll call this hinge. Oh, that's the hinge, and then this the pins. I can go for maybe like a shiny silver, metallic, and bring that glossiness down. That's too much, but yeah, get the idea. Call this pins, maybe pull this brightness up a tiny bit. I'll just rename this pins. Fill. There we go. Something like that. There we go. We have a little desk lamp. Now, if you want to add a cable, you can feel free. You just use a curve and then just add some thickness to that using the geometry on it. And then, yeah. Let's kind of select all. You can select object if we want, and we can kind of just push this aside for now. Let's push it over here for now, out of the way. And let's build some little like wires. So like someone's working on the robot or been working on the robot. So very simple. We're going to start with a cylinder. We'll place this here. Move it up. Now I'm going to select the top face of this and the bottom face. I want to inset this. I'm going to make sure the inset will make it really small. Sometimes it's really fiddly, so maybe we can just change the thickness here and the value here. Sometimes if this is not, you know, moving how you expect, just do this and then you can edit the value here in the properties box. I'd say something like this. All right. I'm going to say delete faces, and then I want to bridge these. So I don't want it to be hollow like that, so I want to bridge it so we don't see the inside of this. So right click, bridge edge loop, so that's nice and, you know, you can see through. And then what we're going to do is kind of pull this in, so we're going to add the edge loop the top and the bottom, and we're just going to scale it in. So I'm going to add an edge loop here, edge loop here. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can move this all around anyway. I'm just kind of doing it eye by eye. And now I want to select this middle section. I'm going to here, select this middle section. Of course, I don't want the inner tube, so I can just go in here from above, and I can deselect this by holding shift over it and go like this. Actually, maybe I can use a circle. So let me use circle or the lasso. Control shift. Oh, come on. Why won't it allow me to? I don't know why it won't allow me to do that. Okay. What I'm going to do is move those inner faces. So I'm going to select these inner faces just for now. I'm just going to do something silly and just move those like this. Well, we'll move it back after. Let me go back to marquee, select box. So this just allows me to get to this. That's all I wanted to do. I'm just going to say extrude along normals and just pull this in. That's all I wanted. Then I can select this again and pull this back. Sometimes I can't be bothered to, you know, to fix everything. So I'm just going to pull this back in. There we go. Come out of X-ray. Right click, shade auto smooth. And we can bevel these edges at the top. So before we do that, hit Control A, apply the scale. Select the edge. And maybe the inside of his and the inside of this. And we're going to right click, bevel edges. There we go. Now we want cable going around it. So let's apply material to this. Let's go to materials. We're going to go here. I'm going to call this, I don't know. Is it spool or spool? I don't know. It's spool. I don't know. It's like a wire. I don't know. A spool of wire. I don't know. I'll just call it a spool. I might be wrong. Name it whatever you like. Go for something like this. And I don't want it to be too glossy, but I'm okay with that. And what I want is wire to wrap around this, right? So I want some wires. What we're going to actually do is we're going to use a torus. I'm going to mesh. Actually, let's use a circle. I'm going to use a curved circle. So then we can play around with the thickness a lot easier. So I'm going to use a curved circle. I'm going to go to the properties of the circle here and change that bevel. Boom. Now we're going to add a modifier, the array. And we know we want to go up in the Z axis because W arrow is pointing up. So we're going to change X to 0 and we're going to change Z to 1. Boom. And there you go, we got wire. I'm going to increase the count so we kind of fill our space. There we go. Now what I want to do is randomize. And I want to randomize some of this rotation. So it's not perfect. And then what I'll do, let's move it like this. What I'll do is select this, Shift D, duplicate. I'll scale this out slightly so you have kind of a second one there. And maybe we'll move this. Actually, let's undo this. So this first one, I might make this a little bit thinner, and then we have a secondary one just on top. So this one, let's make the bevel smaller and scale it in. There we go. So then we can have a second one. So then at least this is a bit more interesting. Increase that count. All right, that looks better. And Shift D, scale this out. and reduce that count, and also change the randomness on the so it's, you know, we're seeing different part of that coming through. There we go. Now, of course, you can play around with the bevel size on this as well. So maybe this is a little bit thicker. And we're just gonna tighten this up on the array. Tighten this up on the Z. And then maybe I'll reduce the count. I don't know, just play around with it. See what works. I think this is okay. So we've got some kind of layered. You know, we can see there's something under there. All right, so I'm going to apply some materials to this wire. So we're going to make one that will generate. So when we're going to have a few of these on the desk. So we don't want to have to create individual materials. So we're going to say randomize that material. So I'm going to right click and just say convert to mesh. Right. So this is a mesh now, and I'm going to select this and this. Say join, and I'll say object center to origin surface. So maybe I'll just tweak this. I'm just moving it around still. I think that's okay. Maybe I could make this a little bit bigger. I don't know. I am being very let's go into here. Sorry, I'm just being very picky right now. Maybe I'll select these two and then kind of scale this out. I don't know. I think that's okay. Anyway, like I said, we're gonna add a new material. We'll call this wire color, and we're going to do a split, vertical split. We're going to go to shader editor, and on the base color, what we want to do is go to color ramp. We want the color ramp, and I'm going to change that linear to constant. Right, so we can say these are the colors we're going to have that you can randomize between. Right. So I might just go red, green, blue, for example, like 3 colors or whatever it is. And you can see already it's chosen the black color from this gradient. Anyway, from the factor, I want to say random. So object info random, here it is already. So you want object info and then you want random. So it's random and pick the white. So I've added one more color. So I can say this is the green. And I'll go for like a dark green, like so. Let me make this a little bit bigger. And maybe a little bit darker. There we go. Then I'll choose this middle one and I'll go for blue. I'll go for like a blue. I don't want it so saturated as well and so bright. So I'm going to bring that darkness down and kind of desaturate it a little. There we go. And then of course we want a red, green, blue. If you want a yellow, throw in a yellow, RGB, and then a yellow. I don't know, it's up to you. And now we've got a red. Again, that's way too bright, and you know, for what I'm looking for. So let's find the color that you kind of prefer. Kind of more like a maroon. Is that maroon? I don't know. I'll try to spread these out evenly. There we go. And of course, you can play around with the roughness. You know, how rough, how glossy do you want these cables to be? I think that's okay, to be honest. It's nothing insane. And what I'm also gonna do is, actually we'll do that after. But now, so we have this. We can kind of group these two together. So we can join this, boom, and now this is one object. Right now it's in the lamp collection. So I'm gonna right click, move to new collection, and I'll call this coiled wires. Right, create a collection, there we go, and then I can call this coil, I don't know, coil, for example. I'm going to just join this back up. So right click this. I'm going to say join to the right. So we're back to our viewport. Right. So now, right now that's green because we just because we renamed it, it's kind of changed. If I shift D, duplicate, and we have a red, shift D, now go green, shift D, red, shift D, green. Right. So we've got a few. Yeah, we're gonna have 3 or 4, 5, 6, it doesn't matter. Let's say we've got 7. If we go back into our here, we can go here and do it into our properties. Now we can play around with these values of our random, and can, if I tweak this, so maybe if I bring the blue in more and the red, or maybe I'll put the green in here. So you can just go in and tweak these. And now we've got some blue, we've got some red, we've got a green, and you can just move around and you randomize it rather than adding each one and color, giving it a material. Just saves us that time for creating these props. Right. So now we have some coils made, and they can sit on our desk later. So we kind of push these to the side, and that's another, so we've got 2 sets of assets. We've got a lamp for our environment. We have some coils. And we can expand. Like I said, you don't have to. Say you want to add more colors, and you say you might want. Actually, I want a white cable, and I can add the white cable in, for example. Or I've kind of bring that saturation down, and I've got 2 blues, for example, or I've got 2 greens here, should I say? So let's take the green and say, okay, I want an orange. I don't know, an orange cable. There we go. And you can see already affecting the way it's looking here. I can change this position values, move these around, yeah, and get all kinds of, like I said, the colors that we need, or we don't want, or we want. It doesn't matter. But yeah, have a play. Like I said, it's going to randomize it. At least you're getting something different every time. If you do want more control over what you're going to get, if you feel like you got too many blues or too many oranges or too many reds, or there's no green, for example, and feel free to do add some extra ones, or tweak it, or even just go in and manually change it. You know what I mean? So I can expand this, reduce the blue, for example, or maybe the white is too much, so I'll say, okay, I more. You see, just expand that green, and it's just playing around. There we go. But yeah, anyway, we have assets we can use here, and we can place these around our scene. Just create some books. So let's do books next. So I'm gonna click up here on the collection. So we're not on the lamp collection like we did earlier. Actually, we can right click and we can just say new collection. Oh, that's moved to new collection up here, and we just rename this books. All right. And we'll make a simple book, nothing fancy. So we're just going to add the mesh cube, and let's scale this. And feel free, if like I said, feel free to fast forward at any point. I'm going to edit mode, and get a loop cut, and I want to add a loop cut here. I want to add a loop cut here and here. There we go. So I'm going to select this face. I'm going to faces. I'm going to come out of X-ray. Let's go back into the normal viewport shade, the normal shade, out of the normal materials, just into this multi. Oh, and there's inset this. Well, I'm going to say extrude along normals, and then push this in. So this is kind of the pages of the book. I'm going to apply modifier. I'm going to say bevel and a subsurface. Boom, boom. And it's not very nice right here. Let's see what we can do with this. So we can just kind of move an edge loop in here. I want to pull this face out. It's a bit rounded. There we go. And push this edge in and this edge. So I'm going to select the two edges. So I want this edge and this edge. Make sure I've got the same edges. And I'll just scale these in. There we go. It's not perfect, but this kind of gives you like it's a book, right? And then you can, if you don't want the subdivision, you don't really need it. To be honest, you don't really need it. That the bevel's not too bad. We can hit Control A, apply scale, and then we can adjust that bevel a bit more. Shade auto smooth. We have a book. Now, if you want more curved book, because right now that's very sharp. So maybe if I go here, add a cut down the middle, and I can just put this out too. Shade auto smooth. Now you don't have a binder that big, so you may want to kind of pull this out. I'm going to select these faces. I don't know what will happen, but we can see. I'm selecting these four edges here and trying to pull them out. Nah, there must be a. Let me delete and make a better one because that I'm not happy with. All right, mesh, cube again. Let's scale this. Boom, boom, boom. All right. I'm going to duplicate this, Shift D. I'll do it a different way. Scale. I'm going to go to faces. I'm going to delete these additional faces. Sorry. Delete face, and delete this face. I'll scale this down. In. That looks okay. And we want the same height or slightly bigger. And we just Control A, apply scale. Add a solidify. Scale this in. I want it to be even thickness. Add a bevel. There we go. Now we've got a nice, much nicer than the previous one. See, and it goes to the edge of the binder. And because we have more simple geometry, we can go in here. We can increase the count. Say that 3. Let's do 5. Right. And if we turn on proportional editing, select this middle one. And we can, as I drag, if I scroll the wheel mouse, I can choose how much I expand and how much I fit that curve, right? Or the rest of the edges on the proportional editing. I'll turn that off now, that's fine. And then I can just kind of pull this face in. So if I select this face, just pull this in a little bit. There we go. We have a book. It's not the best book, but it's a book. Shade auto smooth. So now all I want to do is just create additional pieces on this. So I'm going to Shift D. So duplicate this cover. All right. From this cover, I want a slice. So I don't want the rest of it, right? So we're going to X-ray. I'm going to add some edge loops across here. So I'm going to say, undo. Back to where it's scaled. Go back here. Now add the edge loop. Let's put an edge here, for example, and one down here, and maybe on the front. We can make a little cover if you want. You don't have to do this. You can just go with something really simple objects. I'm just being a bit extra. Right now, this clipping, this is called Z sort, where the objects are clipping within each other. That's just Z draw order. That's just because they're inside. But once we delete the additional faces, it'll be fine. So I'm going to select these faces, and I'm going to just go here, make sure I'm in edit mode, and get rid of these faces. Oh, I don't want. Now I don't know why I can't see the actual. Let's go in here. There we go. So we don't want these faces. We don't want this or this. We don't want this face. So we can get rid of all of this side. I want to keep these 4 faces. So I can get rid of all of this. There we go. And I'll do the same up here. Get rid of these faces. And I'll keep that one. Get rid of that. Oh. And again, I can leave that centerpiece there. I'm going to get rid of all these faces. Get rid of this. Oh, sorry. And get rid of these faces and these. There we go. Well, we're left with this. Now, if we go out of X-ray, right now the solidify, if we change that solidify, so it's pushing outwards, and we just add a tiny little detail so we can add the secondary material to the book, just to make it a little bit more interesting. So what I'm going to do is actually duplicate this book. Actually, just add some text as well. And this is optional, but I'm just going to add text. Rotate this 90 degrees. Now you can edit the text, hit tab, and you can remove that, what it says there, and you know, robotics. Robotics 101. 101. Whatever you want, robotics 101. You can name it whatever you want. I'll just have it sitting on the binder. And just add some extrusion. You can of course change the fonts, add some bevel, some whatever you want. I think that looks nice. Something like that. Just kind of sits there. You know, we have a little book. It's not so little compared to the lamp. Sorry, I went into orthographic mode. If you want to work in orthographic mode, you hit 5 on the numpad. Or if you ever get stuck in that mode and you're like, what's going on? Anyway, what I'm going to do is select this, Shift D, and what I'll do is just select these faces. Perhaps this can sit up here, you know. Learn 3D VFX. And then we have a different book. And then maybe this one doesn't have this plate, for example. And then I can again take this. One, Shift D. And I have another book, and then I can just type whatever you want. I don't know, mathematics or whatever you want. I don't know. The story. I don't know. The blender. And then so on. But yeah, I'll leave that up to you. I'm just going to keep on duplicating these. And I'll just move these around like so. So I have a bit of variation. Make sure I select those facing only, for example, and then this around. Actually, maybe this one. If I want, I can Shift D and then kind of move this up like so. I don't know, ray tracing, whatever you want to call it. That's not. I don't know. I don't know. Or AI will rule the world. You know, the world. And just scale this down, or maybe you go to second. Maybe it's better to go to the second line. And of course, you can go here, center the text, middle, center, and there we go. We have a different book. So we have four different books. So I think that's fine. Maybe some of them you can change the thickness. You know, you can go here, you can squish them down. Like I said, you're not. I might have to squish the font back just to get the proportion right, but you're not locked into, you know, the books being a specific thickness, or you know, they can all be different. I'm just kind of doing it by eye. Make sure I have these pieces all selected. There we go. All right, that's okay. We got 4 different books. Now let's put materials on these, and then we'll group these books as individual pieces. So the same way we did this material here, and that we randomized this color. What we can do is actually copy that material and go to our book, new material, and then click on the little drop down, and we can say paste material, and then we can call this books. All right. And I'll keep the similar color palette. Maybe I just don't need the white, because you know, and this could be like more of a maybe let's go for a dark blue, for example. So you got different types, maybe even darker, and they're saturated. There we go. Now I'm going to apply the material again. Books. I'm going to hold Shift. I'm going to say books, and then I'll say copy material to selected. There we go. Now again, just play around with the gradient and randomize it. Apologies for the interruption. Alright, so I'm going to move these along and see. Let's see what we get. Right now we have a blue. We have 2 blues, and you know, maybe there's too much blue. Now we've got too much green. So you know, actually we've got a red, green, orange, and blue. Oh, that's all right. These materials we want. I'm going to select all of these inside the pages. I'm going to just new. I call this pages, for example. I'll just give it a little tint. The roughness, we don't want it. Paper's not glossy, so I'm going to make it just 1. And then I'll just say copy material to selected. Now these you can choose to whatever you want. So I'm just going to go like a gold book. Good book. And then I'll just make these kind of goldish and metallic. I'll bring that down, not too rough, but, and again I can apply that same material to the thing. Gold book, and I'll just shift select all these items, all these additional objects, shall I say, so the text and these little pieces that we extruded out of the book. Gold book, and then I would say copy material to selected. There we go. Now you can, like I said, you can push this further, and you know, make this a bit more interesting and nicer. But for now, it's a prop that's just sitting in the background. So now I'm going to just select all of these, right click, convert to mesh, and then I will say join. Where's join? Did I convert that to mesh? Convert to mesh. Select these, join. And don't worry if it changes, that's fine, because we just rejoined it. Again, right click, convert to mesh, because this is a text, we have to convert to mesh to be able to join it. I'm going to convert to mesh because if we have remember we have the solidify, we have the bevels and the solidify on these. Join. You should be able to just say convert these all to mesh, right? Let's just double check. Yes, mesh. I should be able to now select this, say join. There we go. Do the same. Convert to mesh. I was just checking that is a mesh. Right. Join. And then we can go into the books material. We can just tweak this. Looks like we're getting too much blue now. We're getting a lot of green. So it's just, I mean, we can go in here and change, see what happens. Maybe we go from ease and see what happens. I don't know what kind of weird blends we get or what we're getting. Maybe we'll put sorry, constant. But yeah, I mean, I'll leave that up to you. Because I'll say because it's only 4 books, you could just apply material to each one. To be honest, you don't have to do this. Let me just go to the shader. I'm sure there was a way to control that randomness as well better. Can we add another color ramp in between? I just want to see. Yeah, I mean, like you get the idea anyway. I mean, that's probably easier just to drag this color ramp. Constant. Oh wow. Maybe we'll add another black in here. And move this over this side. There we go. Getting something. We're getting somewhere. We're getting different colors coming through. But yeah, play with it. If not, if you're not happy with it, I can see the text is kind of floating here as well. But yeah, just tweak it until you're happy with it. I think for now, I'll leave it like this. Maybe I'll come back later and adjust the materials and stuff as well. But don't worry about too much. Alright, so we got some books, and you can name these as well. You can say book 1, or just book, and then if you copy this and you just paste this into the next one, it will just add the numbers automatically. Yeah, I'll definitely come back and fix that because I don't want them to be all orange as well. But we have some books. Now we're going to scale them down. Scale them because the lamp, if you think about it, if you put a book next to a lamp, it's not going to be huge. I'm going to scale those down. Even these are slightly huge. But there we go. We have a set of books. Anyway. Sorry. Next, let's do let's actually do a note. Since we're on books, let's do a little notepad. Maybe we have a little scribble of our like robot on the disc. So this should be simple. we'll just do a plane. Alright. So we got plane, and we're gonna kind of scale it up like it's almost like an A5 page. And we're gonna just add some thickness, so we can just add a generate solidify. I'm gonna add a bevel on that, just around the edge a little bit. Maybe make it a tiny bit thicker. There we go. And actually, I'll give this that paper material. No, actually, I'll leave it as we'll put a texture on that later. I'll have to create one, but let's just go here and let's add a array, and we want to go on the Z, for example. I only need like a few. And I'm gonna go up. All right. I'm gonna move this over to the left. Oh, make sure I get the right axes, because there's two axes. One controls, you can see, one's the array and one's the actual position. So it's right underneath the position one. Yeah, very hard. If you do run into that and it's becoming, you can just toggle this off. So and then move this way one, and then you can toggle it back on. There we go. So I'm gonna just mirror this. I'm gonna just add a mirror. And Y. I don't really have an object to mirror it against, so I'm just gonna, actually, we don't need a mirror. Let's just use another array. I'll just do it once. And then do it on the Y. We'll set that to 1, bang. There we go. We have pages in our notebook. And then we'll just add little torus of code across. So we'll just get a torus. We're going to adjust that radius. So I'm going to make this nice and big and pull this in small. I'm going to right click, shade auto smooth. I'll rotate this in the side view. Boom. And scale this down. Like so, and pull this up. And I'll just scale it like this, something like that. It doesn't need to be perfect. And again, I'll use an array and just extend these the number. And this time we want to go along the x-axis. Oh, even though we are going along the x, so let's see. The x is not working. Is it z? Oh, so this is z. Okay, so we're going to increase that count and spread this out. Now we have a little notebook, and let's just duplicate this one more time. So I'm going to shift D, duplicate. I'm going to move this down, get rid of the array, boom, and this array, boom. So with that page, remember that we created, which was just a plane. That we just solidified. We're going to just extend this out below. So if I look at it from above in X-ray, I just want it to hang over the edge of so the page is kind of sitting here. I know it's hard to see. Maybe if I go here, the X-ray mode. There we go. That's a little bit easier to see. I should have been working in that mode, but there you go. I'm gonna hit Control A, apply scale, increase the solidify on this. Yep, push this up. We have a little notebook. If we want, we can select these vertices, these corners, not these corners, we're just these two edges here, and we can just bevel these edges. So we can get a nice rounded page corner there, and we can do the same on here. just select these two edges, bevel edge. You can kind of round this off. Actually, you want to select all four because this is not mirrored. You want to select all four bevel vertices. Shade auto smooth. Now we want to kind of split down the middle. Like I said, this is additional. You ain't gonna. It's not. We're not. The plan. We're not planning to kind of edit this or anything. I'm gonna just cut straight down the middle. Right. So let's go into X-ray. So I want to actually slice. So the loop cut tool is not going to work. So I'm going to use a knife, and I'm just going to go straight down the middle. Don't worry if it's not perfectly aligned. You can move this edge. You can select the edge here, and you can kind of move this. If you select the edge on its own, you can just shift this. If it's aligned slightly off or wonky, you can kind of fix that. And what I'll do is right click, mark sharp. Now, if I come out of edge mode, you can't see anything here, right? So if we go here, we're going to say, where is it? Edge split. Boom. And we want to move this above, right at the top of our modifiers. Now we've got that split down the middle. And it looks like we've got two pieces of a cover, some pages that we can apply a little texture of our scribble of our robot. Or whatever you want. You can put some text or you can draw on there. It doesn't matter. I'm going to say shade auto smooth and let's apply new material. Let's make this kind of like a dark blue. So we can see what we're doing. Let's go into the shaded mode here. And I'll bring this fairly down and bring that saturation down. If you want that to be a lot smoother, you can see here it's really sharp. You can add additional modifiers. You know, you can go here, add a subdivision, or you can try to clean up that edge loop. But yeah, there we go. I think that'll work. So we've got the cover material. I can call this notepad cover. Sorry about that. I'll leave it in the books collection as well. And then this is the binds. You know, you can give this kind of like a plasticky look as well. Notebook, bind, and this will be new notepad page. Alright. And what I'll do is actually convert this to a mesh. So all these modifiers will be applied. And now the modifiers are applied. And then we can name this, you know, these parts, or we can just name them. I'll go notepad. Then it will do notepad 1, 2, 3, for example, just for now. Control C, notepad. Control V, notepad. There we go. And we have a notepad. And of course, I can select this all and move this. There we go. And we have another asset built. Now let's build like a screwdriver. So we can have a one or two different screwdrivers on our table. Just duplicate it. Make sure to save your work. It's very important to save your work, right? Because we spent an hour, just roughly an hour, creating these. I know I'm kind of talking a lot, but I hope that it's going at a pace that you can follow along as well. And like I said, feel free to fast forward this, jump to sections you want to do. You can model entirely differently. You don't have to build any of these assets. You can build your own desk at home. You can remodel your desk at home, for example, if you wanted. Like I said, there's no rules. All right, let's make a screwdriver. We're going to get a cylinder. This will be the handle. I'm going to scale this down, scale this up. Okay, Control A, apply scale. I'm gonna go back into the other viewport shaded mode. Shade auto smooth. Alright. Now screwdriver handles pretty simple shape. It's just kind of like tapered a little and then tapers in. So we're gonna add some loop cuts. I'm gonna add one right at the top here, like so, and one at the bottom. Now I'm gonna select this edge loop here, scale this in. So this is kind of the bottom of it, and I'll scale this in, right click. I'm going to say bevel edges. I'm going to reduce this to like 2 or 1. Actually, 1's fine. And then I want another edge loop up here. Like so, and I'll scale this out. There we go. Now this top half is completely flat, so I want to select this face, and I want to just extrude along normal, so just pull this up and scale this in a little bit. There we go. So we've kind of got this shape. Now what we're going to do is let's select every two faces. Don't worry, I don't know if it's going to be perfect or evenly. I might not get this perfect. Actually, I want to I don't want it because these are the grips, so I was thinking we can do a grip. So let's actually add some additional edge loops to make it a little bit smaller, the grip. Just kind of add 2 edge loops here. So this area here between this loop and this loop is the grip. Right. So I'm going to select, let's say every two, and then we leave a gap every 2. You can design this however you want. Like I said, I'm just kind of making this up. It might not even be perfect to get every 2, but that seemed to have worked. What I want to do is extrude along normals, push this in, and I'm going to do scale down. There we go. So you can click this kind of slope, this S. There we go. Now I'm going to add a subdivision modifier to this. Now it might go wonky at the top and the bottom, so let's see. Yep. But that is fine. I kind of like that look there, because some kind of screwdrivers are like that. And then the top is all very wonky. So what I'm going to do is just go here. I'm going to set this to 2. I'm going to add some edge loops. So if you want, you can go in here, add the edge loop, and kind of just sharpen this up. I'm going to add the edge loop here. Just add edge loops where you kind of want. And this top face, make sure you get the top face, and just inset this. And inset it again, and I can delete this because this is where the actual screwdriver will just come out of, right? The actual, I don't know what you call it, you know, the metal piece. And then here, I'm going to inset the bottom. There we go. So it's a little bit cleaner. There we go. And you can, of course, move these edges, and you can, if you want this extruded or indented, entirely up to you. But we have a screwdriver, or the handle anyway. Next, what we're going to do is just go mesh. I'm going to grab a cylinder again, scale this up, and we're going to move this up. We're going to make this fit in the hole. There we go. I'm going to select this top face and pull this out. So you know, you can choose how long your screwdriver is. Do you want a ridiculous screwdriver? You can. I ain't judging you. I'm going to press E to extrude out of this again, and then what I'm going to do is actually start to squish this in. So I'm going to start to squish this in on itself, like so. And then I'll hit E again, move this up, and squish it in a tiny bit more. Oh, on the scale, squish it in. There we go. And it looks like we have a screwdriver. Right? And I'm going to go add, oh, actually I'm not going to add it, I'm just going to shade auto smooth, and let's go into materials, and let's give this a material color. We can go new, screwdriver, handle, and other form. We can do a red and a blue. Let's do a red and a blue. So we've got a red. There we go. And I'm gonna add some. I want some cheap plastic, so a little bit of subsurface in there. And the metal. I would say screwdriver again. A little bit silvery, metallic, and bring that glossy down. We have a nice glossy screwdriver. Maybe it's too glossy. Maybe bring it down. There we go. And just Shift D, duplicate. Go to the color here. I'm going to say copy material, remove this, new material, paste material on the new one, and then just give it a name. And that's a notepad. Nope, it's going to be screwdriver underscore handle, whatever you want. You know, this one's screwdriver handle. Oh, I'll call that screwdrive and screwdriver handle. It's okay. Anyway, and I'll just call that blue. Maybe it's like a blue. And we got two. If you want to make a star-shaped one or different types of tools, you can make pliers. You can make all sorts of stuff. Wait, well, I think this is okay. I'm gonna right-click, convert to mesh. Oh, so this the modifiers will be applied, and then I'll just join these up like so. Join. And I'll also make sure I set the origin to surface of mass. There we go. I'll rotate these and lay them down because screwdrivers don't kind of stick up in the air. Yes. And they just sit on the ground, and we can kind of scale it a little bit down. And I'll just move them to the side over here for now. So our assets are building up. However, you notice these are in the wrong asset collection, so I'm going to say move to new collection, screwdrivers. Right, and we can minimize the books, and we can name this S driver 1, just to keep it short. S driver 2. So as long as you know what the objects are and you name them in your scene, you'll be alright. And save our work. Now I think in the last few items are like, we'll do like maybe a plant pot. We can maybe do some bolts. Let's do some bolts and stuff. I did bolts previously. Like I said, I don't want this to be too long and feel like, you know, you get tired, but I want you to create something that you know you'll enjoy or you'll like. So we have this cylinder. Let's reduce the count. Oh, maybe something like this, and we can scale this down. Control A, scale, new. I'll just call this bolt. I'll give it a new material. The new material is called bolt for a metallic. Roughness down, maybe too metallic, but there we go. If we add a bevel to this, so we go modifiers, add a generate bevel, and we get some nice edges, so we can pick up some of that reflection, and we're going to hit shade auto smooth. Now we're going to put the inset, so we're going to select the top face, bottom face, inset. I'm going to drag the value from here. I'm going to delete these two faces. I'm going to select the inner loop, the inner edge of this loop, and then the one underneath, the one there, so other side. And we're going to bridge those loops together. Boom. I'm going to hit Control A, part that scale again, and then we're going to adjust our I'll bevel on there. Like I said, it doesn't matter too much on there. Now we have a bolt. I'm going to move this collection. Move collection to new collection. I'll call this bolts. And later on, we'll duplicate these and we'll use some physics to kind of place some of these objects. So if you don't want to place them manually, you know, certain things, it will save us some time. Right, let's put this over there. So we have some bolts, there's some tools, we've got some books, we've got some wires. Let's create a plant pot. Maybe we'll put a coffee cup on our table and a pencil or something to go with our notebook. I don't know, maybe some gadget or something, some kind of little thing to monitor, you know, the electricity or the voltage. If they're working on a robot, and we just add some additional cables. For example, if you want to make, we can do a cable right now. Let's just do something less, a lot easier, so quicker, should I say. So you could do little cables. So if I was to delete this vertices, so I'll just press A, select all these existing vertices, delete. Then we're going to draw, and then we can kind of draw like maybe there's one coil kind of loop like this, and maybe there's another piece cut like this, and then maybe have some spiraled or tangled up, you know, like this. You're not tied into anything, right? These are just additional. We're just adding additional junk on our table. Increase the bevel, and you can kind of fill the cap, and they can just be like little bits of cut wire from these spools, for example. You know, you just add those on your table, and we can right click, move collection, new, clipped wires or cut wires. Great. And I'll just give it a red. Let's see if we've got a red, new. Let's make this red, for example. And I don't like it being too powerful like that. Yeah. Looks like we've got some red wire left over clipped, you know. And you can then, once you go into edit mode, you can kind of select these. Oh, get rid of that additional vertice there, but you can kind of go select these vertices, move this around, you know, wherever you want. And then you can kind of play around with those too. Object, I'll just center that pivot for now. So we have some additional props. There we go. Save. Let's build a pencil. Pencil's going to be really easy. Let's start with a cube. You wouldn't expect to use a cube for a pencil, but I'm going to use a cube. And we're going to just add a subdivision surface. Boom. Alright, increase that count. What I'm going to do is select that top face. I'm going to pull this up. Like so. About that high, it's fine. We're not going for like a fully detailed pencil, but yeah. We're going to add some edge loops. And you can see it's pretty rounded. Surprisingly, yeah, which is quite cool. Alright, so now we've got a pencil almost. This bottom face we want to select and kind of just taper it. And you can of course select this edge loop here and taper it in two. And then what I'm going to do is add an additional loop in here, and this kind of sharpens this. There we go. Let's go into the side view, a bit easier. And let's change our mode to X-ray as well. And of course we don't want you know, this all to be different. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to select all these vertices. If I hit the scale and hit 0 on the numpad, I can line this all up. 0, boom. And then I can fill these all in together. We kind of have a pencil. Oh, it's a bit more square. Maybe I squished it in too much. I didn't think because it's proportional. I didn't do it proportional, but I can squish it in there. There we go. Now we have a pencil. Right click, shade auto smooth. And because this is two separate pieces, well, we're going to do is apply material. So I'm going to, yeah. New material, give this a color. I don't know, yellow. Go for yellow if you want. And then this section, I want to select this bottom half and add a new material. This will be the actual like wood color, a sign. So now we've got that split. And then the tip of the pencil, if I add another loop cut here and select these faces, oh, and add another material from you, I can go, oh, this is the lead. Oh, make sure you assign that material. And then also change the color. There we go. We have a simple pencil. Now if you want to if you want to add an eraser, you can, you know, you just extrude that. Let's inset this top face. So let's inset here. Just scale this in. And I'll just scale it so it's a bit more, you know, pencil shape, not rectangle. And I will assign the material to this. There we go. Like I said, it's not the best pencil, but it is a pencil. There we go. So we have a little pencil. It is a little bit square. So I'm going to go from the top here and just scale it so it looks a bit more rounded. There we go. Anyway, pencil. You can name this. You can put this. You can put this in a collection if you want. You can make multiple pencils. New collection. Pencil. There's so many ways to model pencil. Right click and just say convert to mesh, boom. And I'll flip this down and just move this over by the notebook. All right. So I said pencil. I said we're going to do like a little plant. We're going to do a we did some wires already. Let's do a little mug. Maybe we'll do a mug. I've done mugs previously, videos on that. If you want to watch a video on how to do that, there's a video link. Anyway, cylinder. Let's set this back to 32. I'm gonna go really quick on this. It's nothing gonna be fancy. Let's I'm gonna delete this face up here. Right, we're gonna solidify this. Add solidify. Add bevel. There we go. Increase that. We're gonna shade this smooth. I'll switch modes. You can see we have a lot easier to see. We can give it a material. I didn't name the pencil material, but hopefully, you know, by this, you're following along. Or make this kind of slightly glossy ceramic. There we go. Now you just want a little handle, right? So one way we can actually do this might be, let's see, is let's get a plane and let's just kind of actually, should we get a plane? Let's just use a curve. We'll just do a curve. Bezier curve. I'm going to hit tab, delete the existing vertices, and I'll just draw a C. There we go. This will be our handle. I'm going to force move these points around. If I select these two together and scale this up 0, boom. There's the object, center, origin, center. I will rotate this. So I'll try to speed this up a little bit so we're not here forever making little assets. I enjoy building stuff. I'm gonna scale the bevel radius. We can apply that material for the mug. So if we search for mug, there we go. We can apply the same mug material, and we can just move these points in edit mode into the mug. You can scale this. Like so. Maybe I'll pull this up. There we go. Maybe this is a little bit too big. So I'll put it in a little bit. And of course it's not aligned. You can see it. You can just move that on the top view. And I'll add some more thickness on that. Cool. There we go. We have a mug. I'm going to convert this to mesh. I'll say convert to mesh. And I'll just join these two together. Oh, join. Oh, again, convert this to mesh because I didn't apply the modifiers on that. Now I can join. And if I go here, move to collection, new to collection. I call this mug. Okay, great. So that's in its own collection. So our scene is starting to build. You know, we're starting to get loads of different pieces. You know, but yeah, feel free to add to it or reduce it. You know, like I said. Let's put some coffee in here. I'll make sure I'm on the mug collection right now. I'm going to add. I'm going to go mesh circle. Move this up. Scale this in. Now I'm not going to anything. I have done where I've done textures. Like I said, if you haven't seen that video, where I just use the coffee texture on the top. I'm just gonna go here, new, call this coffee or tea or whatever you want it. There can be some green nuclear soda, whatever, you know. It can be up to you. I will go for kind of something like this. Right now there's no mesh, so I'm gonna hit tab and F to fill that. Now we can see the material, and then we can change that roughness. There we go. So bring it down, but not too much. I think that's fine. And if you want to add the marshmallow, maybe you just grab a cube. Oh, just drop it in. This can be a marshmallow. We can name some of these, so we can say coffee, marshmallow, mug, and then on the marshmallow, add the modifier generate subdivision surface, add a bevel modifier as well, and just move this up, and then pair off that bevel modifier. Now you get that nice shaded auto smooth. You've got little marshmallow floating in your coffee. Just move these around. And perhaps this one is because marsh pink. Give it a slight pink color. And again, this one, we'll just call this marsh. And this can be just default white. If you want to add some subsurface on that, you can. You're not tied into anything. And the same on this. The coffee, if you want, you can probably add some transmission on there. I think that might help as well. You can add some transmission. Maybe, I don't know. It depends. But yeah, now we have the thing. We can kind of group this all together if you want. If you're not going to animate, if you don't plan to animate any of this rattling or moving around, make sure you convert to mesh. Those modifiers are applied, as you can see, and now join. And now we have a mug we can just move around on our disk. So you can make a coaster, you can like a little coaster for that if you want, and it can sit on it. Entirely up to you. You can play around with that material as well. Maybe add some sub on that material a little bit. Let's go here. There we go. Just a little bit. I know it's not, you don't see much, but let's go on here. Let's check the smoothness. Shade auto smooth. There we go. And let's play around with that smoothness. There we go. 33. That seems to fix that issue. So we have quite a lot of props, I think. Maybe we can start building after. Let's build like, I think let's do like maybe 2 more items. Let's do like a little, like I said, electrical box thing and a little plant. And then we can start maybe putting our table in and creating our little corner that we want to, you know, bring our robot alive in. We'll set the environment, should I say. Alright. I'm going to start with a plane. That will make the plant. Alright, I'm going to move this to a new collection for this plant. Cool. And here I can name this mug as well. Rename that. Alright, go back to here. I just want to make a leaf. Let's go this up. I'm going to go to here. I'm going to split down the middle. Let's cut straight down the middle. Then we're going to slice this about 3 times. Going to vertices. I'm going to kind of select these and we're going to scale in. So you're going to kind of make the shape of a leaf. Right. So it kind of tapers in and then out. And now I'm going to move this point forward like this. So we want that nice point. And then this is going to be nice and narrow. So then what I want to do is kind of bevel this edge and push it down. So select this entire edge loop. Bevel edge loop. Oh, not bridge, so bevel edge loop. There we go. And now we've got that little split. Increase this to 3. Select this middle one. Push this down and scale it in a little maybe. Well, we can play around with that. Then what I want to do is select this edge loop here. Pull this up. Select this edge loop here. Pull this up. And you can play around and move these points. So it kind of looks like a leaf, but it's very low poly, right? So we're going to add a subdivision surface that kind of smooths it out. We get that nice looking leaf. And then what I'm going to do is just add a modifier, solidify, add, oh, not subdivision, so generate solidify, and place this above the subdivision, and just give that some thickness. Let's try even thickness. No, leave it like that. It may be because these vertices here just clashing. Yeah, you can see here they're kind of clashing. So if we go here, we can fix these vertices by just shifting them around. I think they've gone the wrong way. If it lets me select it. Yes, mate. I'm not sure why I can't select this. Let me turn off the solidify here in the preview. And let me also turn off the division and go to X-ray. There we go. Let's just untangle this. Let's look at it from above. See what's gone wrong. Oh, so you can see here, these are kind of overlapping that middle. I'm just going to open that up a little bit. And for some reason, this has gone all the way up there, this one here, and left the middle. Really want that middle to come up. There we go. Hopefully that fixes that. So it's not, if you do run into that issue, you can just turn those modifiers on and off. We have a leaf. And of course play around with the solidify. That piece, that center piece there, that edge loop, I still want to push down. Oh. Like so. Let's get that in. Oh, don't scale it in, sorry. Scale it along the X. Just a tiny bit. Or maybe not. For some reason, why is it going like a bit wonky? Is it? Let me turn these off. Bear with me. It's because this is all wonky. Look how wonky this is. Let's go to X-ray. Let's just line this up. So we're going to select all these vertices. I'm going to hit 0. That's lined up, and I'll just push this out. I'm going to select this center one. I'm going to select this outer one here and move this out of the way. So I'll select all of these. Shift deselect this. Yeah. Hit 0 on the keypad. And I'll select these faces here. 0. Okay. Let's move this edge loop in. This edge loop in. And let's see. That should be a lot better. Alright. Whoa. There we go. Not sure, maybe it's the thickness. There we go. Finally, we got there. Alright. And of course you can move these pieces. And then if you want to extrude this, you know, you can do that and make a plant. Anyway, we got a leaf. Let's create a plant pot. Mesh, cylinder. We're going to delete the top face. We're going to move the bottom face up. Go to the side view here. May want to just move this leaf out of the way. Yeah, go back into this view. We could probably turn these off because we don't need to see them really, because we can just turn off the objects we don't want to look at right now. Taper this in. Select this top edge loop. E. And then I'll do E, S, E. Something like that. That could be our plant pot. Add a solidify. Boom. We have a plant pot, add a bevel on that. Shade auto smooth. Give it a material. Plant pot. And I go for kind of like a clay material. This is going to be rough. Let's just maybe a little bit darker. That kind of gives you that clay pot idea. And we get the leaf. We're going to push this in. Look at it from above. I'm going to actually scale this a little bit so it gets a bit more curved. Then push this down. Now I want the center pivot of this to actually be where the cursor is. So that object center, origin to cursor. So now if we use an array on this, it's gonna go around in a circle because the pivot's right in the middle. Anyway, let's add the leaf material. Leaf. And give it a green. Little bit of gloss. And I'll bring that color down. Gonna add some subsurface on that. There we go. Next, what I'm gonna do, like I said, add the array. I'm gonna minimize those. Add array. Then change this to circle. Oh. And we can increase that count. Now we have a plant. Fancy plant. Now you can push this down. Then what we can do is actually hit Shift D, duplicate this up, so we can turn that array off, move this up, maybe scale it. You can push this in, maybe kind of select this. Let's go to X-ray. Select this and push this out a bit. You know, maybe it's a bit bigger. Maybe this is smaller. And this is smaller. It's, you know, you're not locked in. We're not locked into anything particular, you know. So the entire loop. I'll rotate this a tiny bit. There we go. Now I think that is ridiculous, but bring that back in. There we go. And then we're gonna turn the array back on. Boom. Now let's turn on randomize. Let's adjust the rotation a little bit. And rotation on this a little bit. Just randomize it. There we go. And again, the same on this. We can go randomize. And we can just play around with those rotations. And you have a plant pot. Boom. Cool looking plant pot. And we can just select those. Right click. Convert to mesh. Boom. Join. Right. So let's actually move this over here. Let's turn these items back on. Alright. And so we got a few items, which is cool. I'm gonna go back into this viewport mode here, this shading mode here. Let's put our table in. Right. So I'm gonna add a mesh plane, and this will be the table. Oh. So I'm gonna scale this out. And it's just a cube. It's not gonna be massive. We're gonna scale our props down and, you know, move everything around. No. So, sorry, let me get a drink. Alright, I'm back. Sorry, I went to get a drink. Well, let's kind of place our table here. And I think this is a okay size. It's not massive. Maybe a little bit bigger. There we go. We can say this is gonna be our area. Maybe I'm going to select everything and scale it all up. A bit bigger. Tiny bit bigger. Way bigger. Alright. I think that's okay. That will do. Now already like looking at the proportions of the table against the objects, maybe the table can be a little bit smaller. Alright. I'm going to hit Control A on this scale. I'm going to put this in the new collection. I will just call this table. And I'll add a bevel on here. I don't want these hard edges. Alright. Shade auto smooth. So let's grab our pieces. So with this lamp, I haven't really, so let me go to the top here. I want this to be one piece as well, so I'm going to just convert to mesh, make sure everything's convert to mesh, and I'll just join that. There we go. That's one lamp, and I can kind of just bring this in and position it where I want on my table. So I'm kind of setting the environment up. Move it somewhere over here. Now, these objects I kind of want to place randomly. Same with these screws, right? So what I'm going to do is actually change to go to physics. I'm going to go here. It's going to be a rigid body, passive. Right? We don't want anything to go through that. Got all of these. We're going to say this is a rigid body. So they're all rigid bodies and they're active, right? And we're going to move these up. And hit rewind and play. Well, oh no. This should be passive. There we go. And these should be rigid. What's going on? I just chose that to passive. Why does it keep on changing back? Okay, let's just check rigid. That one should fall. Okay, makes sense. I do not know. Now can we change the origin to the bottom of this? The origin, can I move these all down together? So and then just rotate these. Can I go here, add or object? I think there's a rigid body, add active. There we go. Now they are, maybe we have to kind of randomize some of these. I know. So we don't want them all to land exactly the same. And we don't want them all in the same area as well. So I'm going to kind of move these around. I'm just going to grab these. Alright, let's see how they behave. Rewind. I guess they're going to land on their origin point. Maybe I shouldn't have moved their origins. Object set origin surface on mesh. Maybe we'll get different behavior that way. There we go. That's probably better. It still doesn't look. Let's see. I don't want it in this area because this area is where I'm going to place the robot. The plan anyway. I'm going to move this over here. That is fine. Stop that where it is before that goes on your foot. Let it be. Let that one finish. That's fine. Now what I want to do is just go object, rigid body, apply transformation, delete that, and then now we can get rid of the rigid body here. So now these should have no rigid body because they're not moving. Now we can position these. I'm just going to remove the rigid body off those. So I'll just kind of use dynamics to just spread them out. I may change this, move it around anyway, so but just as a starting point, like I said, I don't want anything in this area, so perhaps I'll move these, like I said, over out the way and to the side. You know, maybe there's one on the edge here, and maybe some at the back. There we go. Maybe we can even stack. You know, I'm just kind of going off random, but yeah, you get the idea. You can kind of set this up how you think it will look. It kind of looks dumb that this one's going in between. Maybe that I can sit on all three of those. Like that. That's a bit better. Alright. So we got that. Let's get these wires actually. Here. Let's get some wires. So we did the spools. We might as well get the wires, and you can then just lay this on the desk. I'm going to go to edit mode. I'm going to grab these ones, maybe some clippings around here. Move these curves over here. Yep. We've got some clippings on the table. And this one's kind of floating. So let's go into the side view here. Let's make sure they don't float. They're just sitting on the surface of our table. This one's gone too far in. There we go. Grab the screwdrivers. Put these in. And look at it from above. Maybe one near the center of the table. This one could be on the edge. It's in a different direction. And then we're going to just pull these up. I think that looks okay. Good. It's just set dressing. We're just set dressing. Like I said. Now the book. I didn't join together, so I'm going to just go right click, convert to mesh, and I'll say join. So now it's a notebook, one piece together. Maybe we kind of just stick it on the edge here. So I might move that screwdriver a little bit, but it's going to go to the side. Maybe the pencil, maybe the pencil's over here. A little bit smaller. And again, just making sure it's not cutting into the table. I can just kind of rotate that randomly. Books, we've got some books, so I can put the books in. Now, I want to move some of this forward to make space. Again, kind of just sit here. And I can change the origin point, so maybe I'll set the origin points of these books to the bottom. Right now they're all roughly different. They're not all the same. That's fine. We can Just do one at a time and then just check those origins. And then I can kind of like maybe push these together. Maybe this is kind of there and then this kind of leans over. So the good thing if I set the origin, because I set the origin at the bottom, it kind of makes it a little bit easier to rotate and move the books. Oh yeah, so it's looking a lot more interesting. Maybe the table can have the planks go across. So I'll duplicate this, and maybe the table. If I move this down, I'll bring this down, go to the side view here, and maybe I'll scale this. And pull this here. I will apply a raise. Let me hit Control A, apply the scale, and then we're going to add an array. And we want to go the other direction, so -1, and then we can just increase that count. And that's nearly there, so we can just kind of, maybe we'll just scale this so it reaches the end. So, and I might just scale these up a bit more, a bit more chunkier. I'll select this and the table, pull this down. And it's just tweaking and moving stuff around. We're not modeling too much now. I think we're at a good stage with our kind of scene. And you should, if you want, like I said, you can duplicate these props. You can add more. You can add less. Think about the proportion and scale. Right now, I'm just kind of rough kind of guessing what. If you want to use real life measurements, you can. Well, I'm just kind of doing it by eye. What kind of feels right. Like if you think about a mug compared to the size of this, for example, or and then how big is the actual lamp? Now I'm thinking, because I'm looking at the lamp compared to everything else. All right. Now I want a back wall, so I'm going to duplicate the table, and I'll use this as like a wall. All right. This will going to be the room, so we'll be focused on this corner of the wall. We'll do like a little corner, so we'll be like looking in like this, and then there's another wall. Actually, let's just delete that. Let's add a cube mesh cube, something like this. Let's delete these front faces. I'm gonna right click and move to a new collection. I'll call this walls. I got my caps on, that's why. I like to write in caps anyway. Walls. Great. I'll leave that bottom half like that. I want to move this wall in. Something like this. Maybe there we go. Yeah. Of course, we can bring this up. But my idea is it'll be shot like this. So we're focused on this area here where our robot will be. If I turn the robot on. Yeah, robot's okay. And just select objects. I'm just gonna scale this up a tiny bit. And you can try to figure out, the scale. I want it bigger than the lamp a little bit. And if I go here to the side, I'm just kind of working out my scale and proportions. That looks okay. I'm going to actually borrow this plank. This is called plank. Right. We'll name this plank table. This is the wall. I'm gonna hit save. Oh, let's get the screws in here. Let's bring in the screws. Let's make this passive. So we're just going to here. Let's say rigid body passive already done. I'm going to get these bolts. I'm going to say it's a rigid body active. Alright, I'm going to move this. Oh, rewind it. Now move this up. And I'm going to just duplicate some of these. Alright, I know it's not perfect. Rotate some of these around. Rotate this around. Rewind, play. That one went flying. Rewind. Let's say mesh. Is it because this is an array? Let's apply. Let's just apply this and apply this. Let's rewind and see how that behaves now. Yeah, I think it's because it was an array. Oh, there we go. Now we kind of randomize those. We can just stop that there. We select these bolts that we kind of duplicated. Collection. Make sure they're in the bolts collection. So I'm going to say bolts. I'm going to go under object again. Rigid body. Apply transformation. Is there a way to say remove rigid body? Boom. There we go. So I don't have to actually do each one like I did on the spools. That's probably easier. And then any that's like colliding into another object, I can kind of just go in and shift that around. I don't mind that one actually standing up. I like the look of it so far. If you want to see how it looks with your materials and stuff, there you go. It's looking right, kind of cool. I might come back later and assign different materials on these books. So I do like the colors and stuff. Let's see how it looks in cycles. It's not looking terrible. We can assign a material to the table as well. New. We can assign a material to that. Of course, you can go further and texture this and all sorts. Like I said, you're not locked into any way of doing it. I think something like that. It's not looking terrible. I like it. And then of course we can change, like I said, we can change our environment. We can rotate this around, get a different look. Just whatever move it around. These are I want them to be a bit more glossy. So make that roughness there. Maybe bring that brightness up. And that metallic down. I don't know. Let's see how that behaves. They look alright. That's too glossy. There we go. There we go. It all comes down to lighting, right? Lighting to bring it. Yeah, the lighting makes those things pop. It will come down to lighting and making it. That will make you look a lot more better. But yeah, I think we are in a good position. So we still have the plant pot to bring in. So let's bring that in. I said I was going to make some kind of electrical device as well. Anyway, let's duplicate this table and make this a shelf up here, so we can put our plant in. So I'm going to just push this back and then place the object and move this up. There we go. And we can hit Control A, apply scale. Alright, because this has a bevel as well, so you can of course adjust that bevel. And we can place some more items up here if we want. So we can just kind of duplicate some of these items. So we can kind of take these books, for example, Shift D. We can put these up here. Maybe we'll rotate these so they're different. All right. I'll just kind of set them up here. And of course, this one I'll just delete, for example, and rotate this. And then I can grab some of these spools and Shift D, duplicate, place this up here on the shelf, or I was going to call it another table, but it's a shelf. And this can kind of sit down on the top. Maybe we have another screwdriver at the top as well. You know, there's no limit to what you can add or build. And maybe we get the plant pot and we kind of place this on the shelf right up here. Little plant. It doesn't have. You can choose if you want a big plant pot, small plant pot, medium sized plant pot. Whatever you feel works for your scene. Maybe I want to move this over here. No, this kind of like on the edge. So it's not the main focus. The main focus is this, so I don't want to take away from that too much. And then I can go in. I can expand this and build it up, and maybe I have another plant, but maybe this one's over here, and it's like bigger and it's rotated. Also on this side, you know, there's no right or wrong. You know, you can keep on moving this around, and like I said, do whatever you want. And then again, you can kind of duplicate these. Shift D. Oh. Maybe I'll grab these books here. So I'll select these 4 books. Shift D, pull these up. Over here this time. And then maybe this one is kind of laying down. I know it's not best rotation right now, but like yeah, hopefully I've not lost you. Probably, I know it's a long video, like I said, it is a very long video, but take your time. Like I said, build the scene how you want to make it look. It's not a tutorial how to place items, really. It's more just we're kind of creating an environment for our story. Maybe we can add a window here, you know. Maybe we want, instead of this being a solid wall, maybe we can reuse these planks and we can make this wall a bit more interesting, you know. We can rotate this against the wall. You know, we add some kind of interest, you know. And scale this up. I'm just kind of making this up, but feel free to add to it. Maybe you want to put some little posters, some post-it notes. I'm going to add another array on this. And we want to go up. You don't have to go this high up. You can go across. You can go down. You can, you know, yeah, whatever you want. So I was thinking something like this. Anyway, I may have to extend a tiny bit out, but yeah, I'll see where with the cameras and stuff. This bolt here is just kind of floating right now. Let me just make sure that's, oh, I didn't apply anything to that. All right, that one can stay there. We're just going to go object, we just go rigid body, apply transformation, and then we just go rigid body, remove. So now it is going to stay there. But it's looking pretty good. Now move this around like this. I think that's okay. And again, I can duplicate this. And move this over here. You're not stuck with a flat wall. I can select this face if it lets me, yeah, and I can just pull this out so this plane's not sitting in there. I can pull this in. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. It may not work. It may work. Let me just check materials. It's not bad. Maybe I'll give that a similar color. I don't think, maybe these are too close together. Maybe it's too much. So I mean, maybe the back wall's fine. I can give this a material. Something like maybe, yeah, maybe the orange, and then kind of just make it darker. Yeah, I'll just call that shelf and apply this to the shelf. And you can see I have a few items that look like they're floating. I'll just kind of pull those down. Some are kind of cutting in. But overall, it's not terrible. Let me close this. This is due to Adobe, that little pop-up. I don't know if you've heard it. And that's just Adobe's terrible, terrible uninstall. It doesn't uninstall Adobe properly, and then it leaves that error. Anyway, add a new material. This could be a wall material. Like I said, you can go for a different color. Maybe you want a completely different color. You know, add something to your scene. And you can see it's that color is going to bounce off, and you know it's going to reflect into these materials on your robot as well. We can go for something pink. We can have blue. I mean, I don't mind the pink, to be honest. Just stands out. Let's just move this floor up a little. There we go. Cost of, I mean, you don't need to. You can add table legs and all sorts. All right. But I think we're at a good stage. And I think we're ready now to explore getting this model ready, rigged, and then we can see how we're going to animate this in the next few videos. So, and maybe I'll go through and just apply different materials to some of these just to randomize it a little bit more, because it's kind of they kind of look too much the same. I was hoping that the ramp would randomize it a bit better. I mean, I can give it a go one more time. Let's just quickly go here, and I can just drag these values. See, we're getting some blues and reds. I'm not getting enough greens there. There's a green. So I mean, it does work. There we go. Now we've got a red. So it does work kind of. But maybe I just want a bit more control over the scene, how it looks, and I'm sure you do too when you're creating. And like I said, it will come down to lighting and, you know, playing with the materials and, you know, whatever environment. I kind of like this, kind of going for a soft look, and then we add additional lights. Well, I think it'll look really nice. But yeah, I hope this was useful. Don't forget, leave a like, share. If you haven't subscribed, that helps me grow the channel. And if you have any images you want to share or videos or something, post them in the comments. Share your work of what you're building. If there's any tips, if there's anything you think I missed as well, maybe in the future I can do updates to this as well. If it was too long, let me know. If it's too short, let me know. I don't know how I could speed up something like where you're building a big scene for us. I mean, it's not massive scenes. I try to keep everything simple. It's not like highly detailed models. I want to go like a decent pace anyone can follow along. Anyway, enjoy your evening, night, morning, or day, and we'll see you in the next one.